Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Season 7, Episode 44, overall 374 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. And Live with CDP Sports Talk is now available on CKRT Border City Radio in Windsor, Ontario, Fridays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and Sundays rewinds from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. as well. I hope everyone's doing well on this Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. Hard to believe, and I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is his third appearance on my show. He's a friend of mine, and his name is Mike Kakuk. He is from AM 800 CKLW in Windsor, Ontario. He is the co-host of the Morning Drive with Lisa Williams from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. And we're going to bring on Mike, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Red Wings, Lions, and Tigers this morning. Good morning, Mike.
Chris, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you today?
I am doing okay on this Tuesday, March 5th. It doesn't even feel like March. It feels like May, June weather.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's amazing, this weather. We'll take it. I mean, it kind of puts you in baseball mode, right? I mean, it kind of feels like, okay, we should get going with opening day already.
Absolutely. I don't know about you, but in all my time being alive, I've never seen a winter in Southern Ontario as mild as this.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, here in Windsor, we set a record yesterday, 22 degrees, and it was beautiful. It was sunny. Right now, we're getting rain as we record this, but that's okay. We got plenty of nice weather on the way for the rest of the year. So, yeah, plenty of baseball. Be excited for the Tigers to start up again.
You just mentioned the rain. I had my vehicle washed last night, so it go figure.
Oh no!
Like every time you get your vehicle washed, you know it's going to rain within hours.
Right, that's the way it goes. That's like the rule.
Definitely. Hey, I saw you did an event Saturday in Windsor for the hospital. I guess it was called what? Hats for Healthcare?
Yeah, Hats On for Healthcare. This is a great fundraiser, and they do it every year. It's the 15th year they've done this now. And what they do is basically you go on their website, hatsonforhealthcare.com, and you can sign up. You can sign your workplace up. You can sign up your family. You just go as an individual, and basically you say, you know what, we're going to wear hats this day, and collect donations in order to do that. And all the money will go to Windsor Regional Hospital. And they've collected over $570,000 over the course of the 15 years, and they're hoping to raise another 75 grand for the oncology unit. So yeah, we did a live broadcast from Devonshire Mall in Windsor on Saturday for that. So that was a lot of fun. It was a good time.
Well, congratulations on that event. And how many hats do you have, Mike, approximately?
My God, I have way too many. I mean, I see you wearing your old English D Tiger hat. That's one of my favorites. I wore that on Saturday to that event. And I got to say, I just got rid of some, actually. I donated some. But I got to have at least, 30 hats. One head, but 30 hats. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm about 100 hats, but you're eventually, it's better to donate some of the hats that are in good shape, because if you're not going to wear them all, there's no point. So yeah, I'm guilty of it. And one of my guests last week she was a musician from Nashville. She has over 125 cowboy hats.
Wow, that's a lot of cowboy hats.
Oh yeah, definitely so. But I love collecting them. But hey, Mike, how was the morning show this morning with Lisa Williams from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m.?
Yeah, it was good. We're on, weekday mornings 5 to 9. We're also on TV now on CTV Windsor. You can watch us 6 till 9, and yeah, plenty to talk about as always. As you know, Chris, like it's when you do a show, whether it's every day or weekly or whatever it is, there's no shortage of things to talk about. It's actually hard to get everything in that you want to get in. And one of the topics we talked about at the end of the show today is that the milk bags that we've all grown up with. You buy the bag of milk, 3 bags or 3 bags in a bag. We all grew up with that. Then you snip the corner and get it off. Apparently, they're going away. Apparently, this Canadian tradition is going away, from what I understand. So, yeah, milk bags in Canada will be a thing of the past. They're saying soon, according to this information.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, look at that.
I'm,
You don't get information like this everywhere.
and then every day you guys are always doing learning something new every day on your shows as well. How long have you been with Lisa now?
It's been over 20 years now. We celebrated our 20th anniversary doing the morning show together back in September, and we're on year 21 now. So yeah, we keep going, and yeah, it's going well, and ratings are good. A lot of people enjoy the program, so that's all we can do. Keep doing it.
Where does the time go, Mike?
No, it's crazy. It's like, man, oh man, I can't believe I'm 48 years old, been doing this 20 something years, been at the radio station now 30 years, Chris, and yeah, it time flies, that's for sure. It goes even faster as you get older.
Especially when you do something that you love and have a passion for, Mike. It just goes by even quicker when you're doing something that you love. And I know we've been connected now here for over 3 years, and that's hard to believe as well.
It is. What did you say? My third appearance on the show, and I can't
Yes.
believe it's been that long. Yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely. But hey, Mike, we'll get into some questions. And I wanted just to get into the Lions first because they had one of their best seasons in franchise history. And just wanted to get your thought on this 23 Detroit Lions team that went 12-5 in the regular season and then winning their first division title since 1993.
Yeah, wasn't it great? I mean, it was so exciting, and I think it was like something, Chris, that Detroit sports fans really needed. I mean, it's been a bad decade or so. The Red Wings, it feels like they've been rebuilding, even though they're starting to come around now. The Pistons are just the worst of the worst, and Tigers, I mean, they haven't been in the playoffs since what, 2014, I think it was. Last time they really had a competitive team was 2016. So I think, coupled with the struggles of Detroit sports and along with the fact that the Lions have never really done something like this, or at least not done something like this in so long. I mean, you go back to the Barry Sanders years, the Wayne Fonts years, and when they went to the NFC Championship against the Redskins. But this seems more real this time. This seems more like they're building up to winning a Super Bowl or going to the Super Bowl, and I think it almost was kind of a surprise this year that they went as far as they did. I think we all expected them to win the division and maybe win a playoff game at home, and then maybe that's about it. But once they beat Tampa and went to San Francisco, and then you're like, okay, well, it's been a good year. If we lose to San Francisco, that's fine. It's but then after being up at 24-7 at halftime and thinking, oh my God, we're 30 minutes away from doing this and going to the Super Bowl and have a chance to win this, and the script was there, the season was magical, people were into it, and then to lose that lead and to blow that game really within a few minutes in that third quarter, everything went wrong. It still hurts. Like, it still hurts. I was watching some Lions highlights the other day, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I can't believe the pain is still there, Chris. The pain is still there that they blew it. But hopefully you learn, you build, and we come back stronger next year, and we see the Lions back in that NFC Championship and maybe win it this time.
Yeah, sometimes in sports you have to learn painful before you win. Look at the Red Wings; they had a lot of playoff disappointments in the first round before they started winning those Stanley Cups. And even the Detroit Pistons, they've had their setbacks back in the '80s before the Bad Boys won back-to-back titles as well. I equate that Lions loss to the Pistons losing Game 7 to the Lakers in the '88 NBA Finals. It was a series and a championship they should have won, and hopefully the Lions in the off season will come out even hungrier next year to get back to the NFC title game and Super Bowl 59 this year.
Yeah, and you remember that's a great point, Chris. I think that's bang on. And you remember that game in 1988, Game 7, and the Phantom Foul that people to this day say the Pistons should have won that championship as well. We might be talking about, a three-peat for the Pistons when, Lambeer, the phantom foul on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Game 7, which led to the Lakers winning that game. And that one still hurts too. Isaiah Thomas and that unbelievable performance he did on one ankle in Game 6, and that was a great year. But you know what? You're right. Maybe you do have to, maybe it's steps to get to the top of the mountain instead of a straight shoot up the mountain. And hopefully the Lions, which are a young team, right? They're going to be around a while. It looks like have learned some of their lessons and can come back and build on what they did, because some of the talent we're seeing with the Lions is the best we've had. And I'm looking forward to the NFL draft and to see what kind of improvements Brad Holmes, the general manager, and Dan Campbell can make this year, because Brad Holmes has been bang on for the most part with his draft so far, and that's why the Lions are where they are now.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Mike. Are you planning on attending the NFL draft April 25th to the 27th in Detroit? And how much does that mean to that city and the area, even Windsor, having the NFL draft in Detroit at the Hart Plaza?
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm not going to go. I'd rather watch it on TV, to be honest, and get the analysis and stuff. I think you go if you're hardcore, if you want to be part of the event and check out the atmosphere around Detroit, which I think is going to be awesome. But to me, to sit there and just wait for the draft picks to come in under whatever stage and tent they're going to have set up, that's not for me. But there'll be a lot of people there, and I know, talking to some city officials here in Windsor, they are talking to the NFL. Even this week, about how Windsor can get more involved in the NFL draft for the end of April. So I think you're going to see a lot of people staying in Windsor that are coming into town, because, of course, all teams are involved in this, and fans from all over the country and the U.S. are going to be making their way to Detroit for the NFL draft in Detroit. And I think you'll see a lot of people, because, people don't realize a lot of times that it's better to stay in Windsor, and then you just commute over using the tunnel bus or whatever to get over. You don't have to worry about parking, and then you stay in Windsor and have your fun over here. So it's going to mean a lot to this area. I think it's going to mean a lot to Detroit. Lions are going to unveil some new uniforms ahead of the draft too, which is pretty cool. And I think you're going to see a lot of excitement surrounding that area of Detroit and really the whole metro area come the end of April.
Out of all the pro sports teams, Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot. If the Lions ever get to a Super Bowl or win it, do you think that would be the biggest parade in Detroit sports history?
I think so. Yeah, I think it would be. I remember still, old enough to remember the 84 parade and the championship for the Tigers, which is like, still, because I was like 8 years old, is still like my favorite championship. And I can't believe the Tigers, they did go to a couple World Series, haven't won a World Series since then. But there's something about the Lions, right? Like, some NFL football is king. The Lions have struggled for so long, and they're finally like on the rise now. And like I said earlier, I think this is like for real. This is not like a one season thing. Something flipped. The switch flipped with the Lions back in 2022, middle of the season. Remember, they were 1-6, and then all of a sudden they went on that run at the end of the year, and they came out, played well this year. And I think the buildup, the frustrations, the struggles of the franchise, the fact that football is king, I think this would be the biggest championship and biggest parade in Detroit sports history if they do win it one of these next few years.
How much did this season mean to the state of Michigan, city of Detroit, and even the Windsor area? And I'm assuming the majority of the Windsor area are Lion fans.
Oh, absolutely. We even had our mayor and city councilors put up a Detroit Lions flag at City Hall here in Windsor, which was pretty awesome to show their support for the Lions. And yeah, there's so many Lions fans here. Windsor to Ford Field, we could be there in 20 minutes if you find good parking spot going through the tunnel, and it's right downtown Detroit. It's even better than it was when they were in Pontiac going to games at the Silverdome. So it would mean everything to this area if the Lions were to succeed, and if the Lions keep going on this path that they're going on. And yeah, the support the team got was amazing, and I think that's going to continue. And some of the crowds at Ford Field were some of the loudest we've heard, and rightfully so, because Ford Field's been around 20 years now, and they had never hosted a playoff game, and they finally got 2 playoff games this year, and maybe even this year if they get that number 1 seed in the NFC, you could be talking about an NFC Championship game at Ford Field, which I would assume now. I mean, that's the goal, right, Chris? I mean, as far as they went last year, and I think the Lions even maybe surprised themselves that they went that far. There's no more surprises now. I mean, the goal is now to win the Super Bowl. And as crazy as that sounds, Detroit Lions and Super Bowl, that is the goal. When you get to the NFC Championship game, and you should have won that game, that's the goal now. That's the goal. Super Bowl or nothing to me at this point.
And next year might be more difficult because I don't think teams are going to like same old Detroit Lions. They're going to like, hey, we're playing a very good football team, well coached. So the Detroit Lions are going to have um, a bullet or a target on their backs next year. That's what I meant to say there.
Yeah, and the schedule's tougher coming up this year too. They had a relatively easy schedule. I know all NFL games are tough and everything, but they had a relatively easy schedule this year when you take a look at some of their opponents. And of course, this year you'll have all the same division opponents, which division games are never easy. But you look at some of the other games they're going to have to play. They play the Rams again in Stafford. He's coming back to Ford Field. They're going to play the 49ers. There's some tough games on that schedule, but you know what? Good teams, it doesn't matter. Good teams rise to the top, and as long as you get in. You saw Kansas City this year. Their regular season wasn't the greatest they've had in recent memory, but they showed up when it counted in the playoffs and ended up winning the Super Bowl again. And I just think, again, if the Lions were in that game in the Super Bowl, I think they would have beat Kansas City.
And being a Philadelphia Eagles fan, last year the Eagles were so close to beating the Chiefs, and then this year the Eagles started 10-1, and I'm like, okay, we're going to get back to another Super Bowl,
Right.
and then they just fell off. So all I would say to Lion fans or any team is next year's never guaranteed, and I liked what Dan Campbell said too. Every season's different, and there's no guarantees, so it's a lot of work.
That's right. And it did look like the Eagles were rolling, and they're going to have the number 1 seed in the NFC and go to the Super Bowl. And the Lions, again, they had a relatively easy schedule this past year. They stayed relatively healthy. Every NFL team's going to have injuries they have to deal with, and guys are going to miss games. But when you have your starting quarterback, particularly Jared Goff, play all 17 games, and with the lack of a backup, I mean, no disrespect to Teddy Bridgewater, who was the main backup, and now he's retired. Like you got to worry about that with Hendon Hooker, who is now the backup quarterback, unless they signed a veteran in the offseason. Goff goes down, and you're going to rely on Hendon Hooker, who has never played in an NFL game before, to lead you to the promised land. That's going to be pretty tough. So you're right. Every season's different, like what Dan Campbell said. I mean, you got to stay healthy. You got to get some breaks, and you hope to end up where you want to be. What happened to the Eagles this year? As an Eagles fan, Chris, why did they all of a sudden fall apart at the end of the season?
I think it had something to do with the coaching staff, and I think it also the players too. I just don't. They never were, even when they were winning, Mike, and they were 10-1. They weren't dominating their games. They were pulling them out, and then I think Jalen Hurts, he had a knee injury, and I don't think he was the same. Like he couldn't run. His mobility is a huge factor. He's sort of a smaller version of Josh Allen, and I think him being hurt and there's no consistency with their offense. They gave up on the run too much with DeAndre Swift, the former Lion, and then guys started infighting. And now look at the end of the season, they've cleaned house with their coaching staff, other than Nick Sirianni. So Nick Sirianni next year is on the hot seat. If this team doesn't at least get to the second round or the third round, I think Nick Sirianni could be gone, because you saw how fast they fired Doug Peterson after a Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens. But and speaking of the Eagles, before we get back to the Lions, just want to say congrats to Jason Kelce on a 13-year career with the Eagles, Super Bowl champion, 7-time Pro Bowl center, and he's going to be very difficult to replace going forward next year.
Yeah, one of the greats. I mean, more than likely, you could see him in the Hall of Fame. And how about that press conference yesterday? Pretty emotional. We played some of the clips on our show on AM 800 this morning, and it was wow, a lot of emotion from Jason Kelce. Great career, and I'm sure we have not seen the last of him. I'd like to see him on your program. I think Jason Kelce would be a good guest for you.
And him and his brother Travis do a great
Yeah, get
job
them
with
all
their
on.
podcast. Travis is great too. I still think Travis might consider retiring too, winning that third Super Bowl and now being with Taylor Swift. Who knows? I don't know if he'll be back next year, but if he does come back, it'll be because of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
Yeah, I would think so. They might have a little talk with him if he is considering retiring, and say, "Listen, come on back, at least one more year, and let's see if we can do this again and get another one." But obviously, the Kelseys have set themselves up for post football, kind of like the Mannings have. I find, like I'm sure we're going to see plenty of Jason Kelsey, and when Travis Kelsey decides to retire, plenty of him too on some of these broadcasts and on their podcast. I mean, the podcast is just blown up, right? I mean, they seem like they got a huge audience now.
Absolutely. And then, Mike, just a couple more quick Lion questions, and then we'll just talk about the Red Wings and the Tigers a little bit. Just thoughts on the Detroit Lions ownership in Sheila Ford Hamp and hiring the right GM and Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. Just thoughts on them and what a kind of a relief it has been for Lion fans to finally have the right person in ownership and management.
Yeah, it's always been said, Chris, in this area that the Lions were never going to be winners until the Fords sold the team. Well, maybe, looking from what's happened, it just wasn't the right Ford owning the team. William Clay Ford owned the team like forever since the 60s, and they never just could get it right. I mean, despite the fact that the guy tried. I mean, it wasn't for lack of funds or money or just it was just picking the wrong people, and there was bad luck, and it just didn't work out, right? And then there was the Matt Millen era, which was just, a huge debacle, one of the worst stretches in Detroit sports history, if not sports history. But then, Martha Ford, after William Clay Ford passed away, Martha ran the team for a couple of years, and that didn't go well. But Sheila was there, and she has just been outstanding, and said, you know what, I'm going to change the whole culture here. And it really started, I think, with Sheila hiring a couple guys in the front office, which included Chris Spielman, the former linebacker. He came in and became part of the Lions front office, leaving the broadcast booth, and he had a big hand in picking Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, and him and Ron Wood, the other guy, more the business side of things. And the three of them really brought in Campbell and Holmes, which has turned this franchise around in a very quick fashion. I mean, you look, and we've talked about earlier, in the middle of that 2022 season, how things just kind of flipped, and things just felt different, and they ended on a roll, and that continued into this year. So, you look at what she has done, and I think she's done an outstanding job. And basically, like with any franchise, I think it all starts at the top. It all starts with ownership, and you look at the Pistons, and they have not been the same since William Davidson passed away. He was the owner, from I think he bought the team in the 70s, and then built the Palace, and helped build those championship teams with Isaiah, and then another one with Chauncey and Rip and Ben Wallace and all those guys in '04. It all starts at the top. It all starts with ownership, and then them hiring the right people to run their franchise. And I think Sheila has done a tremendous job of hiring the right people and then staying out of the way. Like, let them do their jobs.
Absolutely. And as for the Pistons, I think the Troy Weaver era is going to go down as bad as Matt Millen, or if not worse. So that's another episode for a future day as well. But like I said, it all starts with management, and I think the Lions are set up for success for the long term with their structure in place.
Well, it sure seems like it. I mean, if Brad Holmes keeps drafting the way he does, and I kind of like, kind of what he does is that, like, we can sit here and try to predict what Brad Holmes is going to do, a month and a half from now in the NFL draft. I don't think anybody knows. Guys on ESPN and wherever else, NFL Network, trying to do their mock drafts. You don't know what Brad Holmes is going to do. And one of the things that I like about this is that him and Dan Campbell are looking for certain guys. They're looking for not only talented players who can run fast and catch the ball and all that stuff. They're looking for a mentality. They're looking for football players that fit into a certain culture. And I think that's the reason they've turned around this franchise so quickly, is that they are trying to interview these guys and get a sense of who they are and what they would be like in the locker room with their teammates on the field. And I think that philosophy has worked.
Absolutely. And now when free agency starts, guys aren't going to like the Detroit Lions. No, thanks. We'll pass on. Now it's like,
Right.
hey, yeah, we're definitely interested in coming to the Motor City.
Yeah, and isn't that shocking? And maybe even taking a bit of a pay cut in order to come here for a chance to win the Super Bowl. And people freak out about the NFL draft a lot of times. And I remember this last year where they took certain positions and certain players and said, well, but they need this, they need that. People can't forget that they can fill a lot of their needs in free agency too. So just in case, people, maybe they don't take a cornerback, which I think is one of their biggest needs in the draft coming up in April, doesn't mean they're not going to go find somebody, and they will find somebody, whether it's through the draft or through free agency. You'll see that defense a bit revamped, I think, going into next year and more talented. I think that's the side of the ball they got to focus on the most.
Do you think they'll keep St. Brown? I've been hearing rumors he's been offered a 5-year contract, and how important would he be to keep him there long term as well?
Yeah, I think absolutely they'll keep him, and it looks like they're getting pretty close on a contract extension. He's one of the leaders on this. Not only one of their best receiver and one of their best players, but I think he is one of the leaders and one of the guys that has that mentality that they look for in all their players. I think they looked at him a few years ago when they drafted him and said, this is a guy, this is a lion right here, along with Penei Sewell, the offensive lineman. Those guys, I think, are they got to stick around. They are leaders on this team, and Jared Goff. And I'm surprised listening to a lot of sports radio and going on Twitter and seeing the comments how much people want to replace Jared Goff for some reason. I mean, the guy's only going to be 30 years old. You got to re-sign him, perhaps. He's still under contract, but it looks like they're talking contract extension with him. I mean, he got you to a place you have never been. And to see all like the doubters of Jared Goff really surprises me. I think he's your guy, and again, one of your team leaders.
And that led to this question: do you see him as a long term franchise quarterback for the Detroit Lions? Obviously, and what did you like about his game this year? What did you like about his game more this year than in the past?
Well, I think there was like a confidence that's grown in Jared Goff, maybe as he's matured, as he's gotten older. I think it helps when you have more talent around you. I mean, this is a guy that took the Rams to the Super Bowl, and he was the first pick overall. He obviously has talent. I think working into the system. I think the second year under Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, he's coming back, which was kind of a surprise, and I think a bonus that both their coordinators are going to be back next year, both on the defensive side with Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. I think there's like some kind of chemistry between the offensive coordinator and the quarterback, which I think is key, and being on the same page. And then not to mention all the weapons they put around them. I mean, running backs and Montgomery and Gibbs and Amon-Ra, and you hope Jameson Williams, who showed flashes this year, it's going to be a big year for Jameson Williams. I think he's got to step it up and show that he is, almost a 1B receiver to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think this is going to be a big year for him. So I think, going back to Jared Goff, I just think there's a confidence and maturity and weapons around him. I think that was the key to his big year.
And from an outsider, I would say leadership. The guys really believe in what he's doing.
Yep, great call. And he is one of the leaders on this team, if even above or right along with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell. And I think your quarterback always has to have that leadership key, because there's no more important position and tougher position to play than NFL quarterback.
Last question about the Lions. In terms of great Lion players, and I wanted to bring this up, Aiden Hutchinson, do you feel he has the potential to be a potential Hall of Famer when his career's done?
Yeah, I think so. I think he has some growing to do. I mean, he's made some great plays. He's got to learn to get to the quarterback, even if they are putting the best lineman against him, even if they're double teaming him. The great pass rushers in NFL history have found ways to still get sacks, even though defenses are lining up against them. I think improving the defensive line and getting him some help would assist in that. And and great players make other players better too. So I think Hutchinson's got some growing to do going into his third year. But I think the potential's there for sure. I mean, he's shown flashes, but you got to see a little more for a few more years.
Absolutely. And one guy I was so happy for this year was Dan Miller. Finally got him on my show, and he's been calling their games, I think, since 2005. And it was so great seeing him being able to see a team that was a championship quality team, and just one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, Dan Miller.
Yeah, great guy. And, I love watching the video clips of him calling the games, how enthusiastic he is. And, I think he does a great job on the radio. And maybe a lot of people maybe don't realize that because a lot of us watch the games on TV. But if you ever get a chance to watch some of these Dan Miller highlights or listen to him on the radio, he's one of the best and does a great job calling those games.
Absolutely. Hey, Mike, are you okay for a few more minutes and a couple
Sure.
more quick
Yep.
questions?
Okay.
I just wanted to get into the Red Wings, who are off to a great start this year, but now they're facing a little bit of adversity with Dylan Larkin being out for at least 2 weeks with a lower body injury, and now being on a 4-game road trip. Just quick thoughts on this team so far.
Yeah, this is going to be a key stretch for them because they were rolling, right? They won 6 in a row and everything looked great, and then they lose to the Islanders, and then they lose to Florida back to back, and two teams, Florida, I mean, a Stanley Cup contender, and the Islanders, who are kind of just nipping on the heels of the Red Wings trying to get in the playoffs. So those were two disappointing losses. I was really hoping they would win at least one of those two games. So this road trip coming up, and coupled with Larkin now being out for a few weeks, is going to be really big to see if they can sneak in the playoffs. I mean, it was like almost like a foregone conclusion. It felt like just even a few days ago, and now with a 2-game losing streak, with Larkin being out, guys are going to have to step up, and we'll see who steps up. I mean, that first line that they have, including Patrick Kane, what a pickup that was. And then you got the trade deadline coming up. Is Yzerman going to buy in this year and say, we're going for it? Because I think the way they're playing and the way they're set up, Chris, they could make some noise in the Stanley Cup playoffs. If they stay relatively healthy and continue to get, pretty solid goaltending, I think this team could win and go maybe a round or two in the playoffs if they stay healthy. And but first you got to get in. I mean, and that's the thing. So I think this road trip's going to be huge. They got to at least split. I think they got to go at least 2-2.
I totally agree with you. What's the latest on Husel, who was supposed to be their number one goalie? Is he going to be back at some point this season?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I haven't heard many updates on him or read anything as far as he's concerned. But yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, you're getting pretty late in the season now, and you wonder how good a guy can be if he comes back that late, how sharp he's going to be. So we'll have to wait and see what the Red Wings decide on that.
Yeah, they have a 4-game road trip coming up at Colorado, at Arizona, at Vegas, and at Buffalo. So I'm hoping they at least can go 2-2, and hopefully Larkin will be back in a couple weeks. But we're going to see how good the depth on this team is without number 71 for a couple weeks as well. And what's your overall thoughts on some of the other guys on this team this year?
Well, I think you're seeing a lot of the younger guys step up this year. You look at Lucas Raymond, what I thought was disappointing last year after a really good start to his career, and then you look at DeBrincat. What a great pickup that was by Yzerman, and kind of lucky that he's from here and wanted to come here. So you add him with Kane and Larkin. I mean, you got a pretty solid first line that could match up with anybody in the league. And I'm just looking at some of the other guys as I look into let's talk about Mo Sider on the defensive side. I mean, you talk about a guy that is kind of reminds me of Vladimir Konstantinov. Just that big, rugged, solid wall of a defenseman that is tough. And he took a couple shots a few games ago. It was the Islander game or the game before that, and just hung in there and kept playing through that, that basically collapsed when the play was whistled. But they got some guys, and they got some guys coming too. You look at what's happening with Grand Rapids and all the talent down there. So this is kind of just the beginning for the Wings. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. If it's not this year, it'd be extremely disappointing that if they don't make the playoffs this year. I mean, Yzerman's had a long time to kind of build this thing up. I know they were kind of in salary cap hell when he took over, but I'm surprised it's taken this long for Yzerman to just get the team in the playoffs. So I think they got to get in this year, but I think next year you're going to see them be in that upper echelon of NHL teams, along with the Bostons and the Floridas. I think next year will be the big jump, but there should be a little jump this year. They should get in the playoffs, or it'd be disappointing.
Thoughts on Patrick Kane overall since signing with the Red Wings? And do you feel Steve will try to sign him to a 2 or 3 year contract at the end of the year?
Yeah, I think maybe you give him a couple of years the way he's played. I'm shocked, to be honest, when they signed him and coming off the injury that he has at the age that he's at. I didn't think he had as much as has shown left in the tank. So I was totally off on this one. I thought, he'll add some veteran leadership, add a few goals, but he has been a key. He has been maybe their best player since he signed and started getting his legs under him. So, kudos to Yzerman. And, I thought it was just one of the more amazing moments, and maybe the most amazing moment of the season and in the Detroit sports year, when he scored that breakaway goal in Chicago a few weeks ago on the night that Chris Chelios had his number retired, and mentioned Patrick Kane going back to Chicago for the first time where he played for so long. That was just an amazing moment and a really cool moment. So he has exceeded expectations so far as a Red Wing.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Yes or no, the Red Wings get in the playoffs this year?
Yes, they do. Yes, they will get in. They will sneak in. I think they'll get in there as one of the wild cards. I don't know if they're gonna. They were 2 points behind Toronto. I'm like, come on. As a Wings fan, you want them to take down the Leafs. But yeah, they're going to get in this year. I think they'll sneak in as a wild card, and then, as I said, next year I think you're going to see a big jump up at the Red Wings, maybe challenging for one of those top seeds, one of the top 3 seeds in the East. And I'd love to see them play the Leafs. I would love to see that rivalry. And I know the rivalry is always there because there are original 6 teams and the geography and the history between the 2 teams and all that stuff. But it's kind of been dormant for a while after the Wings moved to the Western Conference for so long. And not in the same division as the old Norris division with the Leafs. I would love for them to play in the playoffs and get that rivalry going again. I think it'd be so much fun.
31 years since they last played Toronto in the playoffs, and I remember that series. And to this day, I still cannot watch Game 7 at the Joe Louis where the Leafs stud them. Seriously, the 93 Leafs series and the 88 finals against the Lakers are 2 games I do not ever want to watch again.
Yeah, that 93 game, that was something. I still remember the shot after the winning goal, and I think it was the trainer behind the bench squirting the Gatorade bottle everywhere after they scored the goal. It still is in my mind from that scene at Joe Louis.
Thankfully, they didn't have social media back then, or I would have
Right.
never survived back then. So, but I agree with you, Mike. I do think they're going to get in. And as for Steve Yzerman at the trade deadline, knowing Steve Yzerman, I think he's going to just hold still. I think he's going to have faith in what he has on his roster, and I don't see him making any big moves at the trade deadline. I believe that's Friday, March 8th?
Yeah, it is. It's coming up at the end of this week. We're here on March 5th recording this, so we're a few days away. And I haven't heard too many rumors. There's a few here and there, nothing really, really solid. But yeah, we'll see. I think NHL trade deadline is always a lot of fun. And now that the Red Wings are more involved in trying to go for the playoffs, I think it'll be even more fun for Red Wing fans in this area. And we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if Yzerman makes a move. I think he's going to make some move. I don't know if it's going to be a major move, but I think he's going to pick up maybe 1 or 2 guys to maybe solidify the back end of the defense.
And I think the Red Wings' success has kind of helped fans kind of recover from the Lions, and also forget about the Pistons, who right now are a complete mess. That's another story.
A disaster. When you set already a record for most losses in a row in a season, it's not been a good year, and it's just been a total disaster. And And it's almost like I feel like what we said so long for the Lions, like until the Fords sell the team, or at least somebody else from the Ford family took over and did it right. That I don't think they're going to be the kind of franchise we want them to be until Tom Gores sells the team. And you heard the chants at some of the games during that losing streak to sell the team. I wish those chants would come back because whether he's going to listen to them or not, who knows? I don't know where he is financially, where he is in his head, and who knows. But I really wish he would sell the team and maybe to like somebody in Detroit, a local owner that has some ties to Detroit into the team.
I almost wish the Illich family back in 2010, I almost wish they had bought in the Pistons instead of Gores. I give Tom Gores credit. He has thrown money at the franchise, but he's thrown it all in the wrong places with players in draft picks and GMs. And you're right, management can have money and spend it, but if you don't hire the right people, you're not going to succeed. And as much as we hate the New England Patriots, Robert Kraft hired the right coach at the time and had the right system in there. And that's why the Patriots were successful for 20 years. And now you can look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They hired Andy Reid and brought in the right coaches with Andy Reid and the right players. And that's why they're successful. So championship organizations, it's not just about spending money, it's hiring the right people in place.
Yeah, Gores has spent money. I mean, when they were at the Palace, he made tons of investment there and improved the Palace. I think it was a bad move to move to Little Caesars Arena, to be honest, because that seems so last minute. That seemed like so last second. Then all of a sudden, the Pistons are going to move downtown. I mean, it's cool to have them downtown, but I don't know. That seemed like it was a mistake. The Palace was still a great building, so he invested in that. He's invested in Detroit. He's invested in different front offices. He just threw a boatload of money to bring in a big head coach, and it just hasn't worked out. Like, so it's not the fact that he hasn't spent money or hasn't tried or is too cheap, or it's just he's not picking the right people. And like we said, Chris, like you look at Sheila Ford Hamp and what she did and brought in Chris Spielman, and then bringing in Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. And it takes the owner to bring in the right people and identify those right people to run your franchise. And if you don't, you're going to be in a situation like the Pistons are. And I don't even know. I can't even believe they haven't found a new GM yet. Like that they're letting they're letting this guy keep going. It's unbelievable.
Well, I relate them to the 2008 Lions at the time with Matt Millen. So hopefully the next time I have you on my show, Mike, we'll have better news to talk about the Pistons. But before we wrap this up, I just wanted to talk a little baseball with you with the Detroit Tigers. And I wanted to get your thoughts, Mike, since you're media in Windsor and you're close to Detroit. What are the expectations from the local media in Detroit and Windsor and the fan base for this 2024 Detroit Tigers team?
Well, I think there's, I guess, cautious optimism for the Tigers this year. Scott Harris, the guy in charge now, he's in his you're looking at about 2 years in now, and the team has definitely improved. He hasn't made a big move yet, which I'm really surprised. There hasn't been a big trade that he has traded maybe a key prospect or a key guy on the team, like a Tarek Skubal or Riley Green, and flip this for something more of need. Maybe that's coming. They will certainly be improved this year. Again, you never know. Baseball's weird, and teams step up, teams falter depending on injuries and just how things go. I think the thing that people are looking for around here is a competitive team this year. They're in a horrible division. The AL Comedy Central is not a good division. If they were in the AL East, I'd be like, there's no chance. But they got a chance at this division. You got Minnesota, Cleveland, and Kansas City. Kansas City has improved. Kansas City has maybe improved more than anybody, but of course they were way last year. Detroit has improved. Cleveland, I think they'll be about the same. And Minnesota, I don't think is as good as they were last year. So they got a chance to win this division. And once you get in the playoffs, you never know. I mean, you get hot like Arizona. Who thought the Arizona Diamondbacks would be the Dodgers and go to the World Series last year? Who knows? I mean, I highly doubt it. That's the best case scenario. But I think, if they're in the pennant race in September, I think it's going to be Okay. All right. It's been a pretty decent year. And I think that's all people are looking for around here is to have a competitive baseball team that finishes over 500 and maybe can sneak in a division title. I think the best is yet to come. I think there's a lot to prove for Scott Harris and his staff. And I think they got the maybe the best manager in baseball in AJ Hinch, who seems to be all on board with the organization and wants to be here. So I think that's a big benefit. And I think Chris Ilitch, the owner, has been unfairly criticized this offseason for not going out and spending more money. The payroll is $10 million lower than it was last year. They're $50 million less than the average Major League Baseball payroll, but he has invested millions in the minor league system. And I think to have a sustainable winner, you need to have a strong minor league system that develops these guys so you constantly have a pipeline of talent coming up every single year that, like, if a guy does leave, becomes a big star, like say Torkelson in a few years says, I'm leaving as a free agent. You have a guy ready already in your system to replace that guy. And I think that's really what they're focused on. I think it's smart. I think it's going to take a while to get there, but yeah, I think this could be a decent year for them.
Mike, I'm going to put myself on the spot here. I think the Kim won the AL Central, and I'm going to say they're going to win 87 games this year.
87.
87 wins if they can stay healthy, especially the starting pitching.
Yeah, and I think that's and that's not an outrageous number. I'm thinking around 85, 86 myself. I mean, they finished the season pretty strong in September. Maybe that'll be indication because the 3 years that AJ Hinch has been here now, they have gotten off to horrible starts in April. They have been horrible. They were well under 500. I think they were 8-22 at one point after the start last year. They got to avoid that horrible start. They got to at least maybe float around 500 coming out of April into May, and then maybe take off from there, because digging yourself in a hole like they have the last few years is not going to help you at all. And then it seems like you're just trying to get out and get out from the bottom that you've been in all year. So I think getting off to a good start this year is going to be key. And we'll see what kind of team they have. I think coming right off the hop, which is opening day, which is still, it's March 28th. We're still like 23 days from opening day. Spring training is way too long. I can't believe how long spring training is.
Back in the old days, these guys needed 30 games in a month and a half to get themselves into game shape. And now these guys, professional baseball players, are in shape all year round. I really don't think it needs to be 6 weeks, in my opinion, anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I guess the only argument I see is to get the pitcher's arms in shape, which, going to your point, these guys are throwing in the off season. They're not working in a factory or going somewhere and not picking up a baseball until March. But, I don't know if they'll ever shorten. I've never heard of any talk about that. I think they should, but I guess it's better that exhibition baseball, preseason baseball is better than nothing, because I find this is a very hard time as a sports fan. It's a lot of, regular season hockey and basketball. I don't know. Doesn't do a lot for me. Preseason baseball. Okay. There's a little excitement off the bat. Then it kind of drags on. NFL is done. It's all NFL draft talk. So until we get the NCAA tournament going, and then that leads into opening day, that leads to the Masters, which is one of my favorite sporting events of the year. And then we get into the NHL and NBA playoffs. It's a lull in the sports calendar right now.
And before I let you go, Mike, I just wanted your quick thoughts on the Tigers' new TV guy, Jason Benetti. I think he's one of the best in the game. I did like Matt Shepard, but I really am excited to have Jason with the Tigers with Bally Sports. I think he'll be a tremendous play-by-play guy for the Tigers.
Yeah, and you talk about Chris Ilitch stepping up to improve the product. I mean, that's another example of Chris Ilitch. I'm sure Jason Benetti being a national name. He was the White Sox announcer, and I'm shocked that they got them. When they announced Jason Benetti was going to be the play-by-play guy on TV, I was stunned by that. I mean, this guy is as good as it gets. He does a great job at all sports, and I think it's improving the product. And what I'd like to see on the Tiger broadcast, though, on Bally's, is stick with one color commentator. They're going to be rotating guys, and they've been doing this the last few years between Kirk Gibson and Dan Petrie and Todd Jones is going to be in the rotation this year. Carlos Pena, the former Tiger, Craig Monroe. I'd like to have the same guys in there all the time.
Consistency.
Right. Like we had with Rod and Mario for so long, who I think
17 years.
yeah, right. And George Kell, Al Kaline growing up as a kid. I think, I just like to see that consistency and have, and maybe schedules don't dictate and that's just the way it is. And that's why nobody wants to do all 162 or whatever it is, but find somebody that does then, I think some of the guys are pretty good. I think Dan Petrie does a heck of a job. I like Craig Monroe too, doing that job, but I like to see the same guy in there with Benetti every game.
Well, and I was going to say, look at the Blue Jays. Dan Schumann, along with Buck Martinez, they have chemistry.
Right.
And when you have the same guys for the most part, they develop a chemistry. And it's like with Tom and Jerry with the Blue Jays. They did it for so many years, and Ernie and Paul Carey. And I like the guys they have on Bally Sports, but I would like to see Jason paired up with somebody regularly, like he was with Chicago and Steve Stone. I thought they were great as a combo.
Yeah, because you don't even necessarily have to bring in an ex-player to do color commentary. You could bring in two broadcasters, which I somehow, in some ways I enjoy more. We had that with Ernie and Paul, and even on the radio side too, they're rotating guys now, which I don't enjoy as much. I like the consistency of Dickerson and Jim Price, and unfortunately he passed away, last year. But I'd like to see that consistency in both booths. Yeah, they continue to rotate these guys. I don't get it, but it must have something to do with schedules or whatever it might be, or promises they've made certain guys. But yeah, I'd like to get them back to having main second announcers with Dickerson and with Benetti.
And finally, this is a new segment on my show before I wrap this up, Mike. It's called Ask the Host CDP a Question segment. So do you have a question you would like to ask the host?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I want to know, with all the stuff you're doing, all the platforms you're doing, and how much or how long you've been doing this for now, and obviously have a passion for it. What's the biggest thing you've learned through your media work now, and the biggest lessons you've learned through broadcasting?
Okay, I started this in March of 2020, so this is 4 years going on. I would say I've learned from my guests, specifically Eric Smith, Chuck Swirsky, to reach out to people. Oh, the worst thing they can say is no. But the biggest thing is when I first started this, Mike, I was writing everything down, scripting everything, and Chuck and Eric and others gave me some advice. It's okay to write points down and questions you want to ask your guests, but talk to your guests like you're at a donut shop or a sporting event. And that's what I think I've learned. I think I've learned my better listening skills and also how to have better conversations with my guests over the years, and to be professional at all times, and let my guests share their stories on here as well and make it about the guests.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's a good list of things, and you certainly have done a great job getting some great names and improving your skill. And that's what I always say to people too. They ask me about writing things down and all that, and the best questions come from listening to your guest answers. Right? You might have something start off the conversation, but then you listen to the answers, and then your other question will come. The follow-up question will come from that. So yeah, it's a good lesson. Well said.
And like I said, I'm now doing a speaking engagement this Thursday at a high school in Kitchener. And I never thought 35 years ago when I was in school, I'd be doing public speaking. Because when I was in school, Mike, I was shy. I hated it.
Right.
I avoided it. And now 35 years later, I'm very comfortable doing this. And now speaking in front of students. And I'm just excited about that opportunity. And like I said, I ask people to come on, and it's all about the guests, and that's what I try to do. And one thing, Mike, never stop learning. Doesn't matter what age you are. I'm almost 52 now. You just got to keep learning and never get complacent in the media industry too.
Well, that's it. And keep adapting and keep working hard. And you're right. You never stop learning, no matter what industry you're in or what other skill you're looking at. I mean, that's a really good lesson. So it's always fun, Chris. Always fun coming on the show.
And I just want to give a quick shout out to Donna from Border City Radio in Windsor, CKRT, for giving me an opportunity as well. And I'm so excited for Donna. She says she knows you're the personal friend, and I'm hoping I can help her station out. And I'm just excited about that opportunity as well.
Yeah, Donna's great, and all those people over there at the station in Amherstburg do a great job. You talk about people that are passionate about radio and media and about their community. They certainly have that going on. So yeah, props to Donna. Glad you they gave you a platform to do your thing, do your program.
And I strongly believe the radio industry is not dying in Canada. I think it's still going to be strong. And there's so many wonderful people in this industry. And Mike, and I want to say, hey, thank you for your friendship for the last 3 years and for being a supporter of my work. I'm doing this the unconventional way, but I really appreciate it, Mike. And I have so many friends in Windsor. It's like a second home to me because everybody's been so great there as well.
That's awesome. Always happy to support Chris. Always happy to come on the program and continued success on your program. And yeah, I look forward to watching and listening to your broadcasts every week.
Thanks, Mike. And again, where can my audience follow you on social media, your radio station, and your morning show with Lisa Williams?
Okay, you can check us out Monday to Friday on AM 800. You can stream on your smart speaker Monday to Friday, 5 to 9. You can watch us as well. They actually broadcast our show on CTV Windsor, if you get that, wherever you are. And then you can check out our podcast as well. Just search The Morning Drive with Mike and Lisa on your podcast app. And those are the best ways to connect with us. And then, all the usual Facebook, Instagram.
All right. Well, Mike, hey, I want to say thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time today. I know you get up early in the morning, so hopefully you can get some sleep this afternoon. And I will definitely try to tune into your morning drive either Wednesday or Thursday this week as well. But again, thank you so much, Mike, and continued success with AM 800 in Windsor with Lisa Williams. And thank you so much.
All right, Chris. Thank you. Thanks for the invite. Have a great day.
You too, Mike. Thanks so much. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed season 7, episode 44 of Live with CDP Sports Talk today with my guest, Mike K. Cook from AM 800 CKLW in Windsor. He is a co host of the Morning Drive Show weekdays from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Lisa Williams. And you guys can check out their website at iHeartRadio.ca/AM 800 as well. Before we wrap this show up, guys, I'm going to play a little clip of a post-game interview I did about a week and a half ago at the KeyBank Center with In McKay of the Buffalo Bandits after their 13-10 loss to the Albany Firewolves. And speaking of the Bandits, they're back home this Friday night, 7:30, KeyBank Center against the Saskatchewan Rush. And what day is that? 5th, 6th, 7th. Friday, March 8th. Friday, March 8th, 7:30, KeyBank Center against the Saskatchewan Rush. And the Bandits, who are 5-6, desperately need that win. But I'm going to play you an interview I did with Ian McKay just about a week and a half ago at the KeyBank Center in Buffalo.
Even the series, and it was very feisty. What did you think of just overall how it was on the floor tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of everyone's effort. And, we came out with a game plan, different style of defense, and credit to our D guys for sticking with it, trying something new. It's hard in the middle of the season when things aren't going your way. JT kind of just touched on it in the room that, everyone's got an answer, everyone's got an idea, but, just trying to stick together, play a little bit more physical, play a little tighter. And I thought we did that really well at times, but obviously, also credit to them. Like they were shooting the ball well. We got to help Shanny out a little bit better in those and, getting first time loose balls. But just the way the standings are with the Unified and playing them twice, like that, losing that one hurts a lot in terms of, tiebreakers and all that. So, just kind of we got to let that sit with us and not be happy about it going into Vancouver.
What was the difference with the defense tonight with Zach and Frank in the lineup? Was there a different strategy than normal, or was there any difference?
Not in terms of, who we didn't change anything because of who was in the lineup. Also credit to those guys. Shanny, he's put 5 years in taking shots before and after practice. Guys are getting meals, shoot around, and he's still out there taking shots. And so it was awesome to see him, get his chance. I thought he played really well. Obviously, I think we could have helped him a little bit more and got him shots he wanted to see more. But credit to him. And Frank Brown battling injury for a while. Getting unfortunate news last year that he couldn't play, and battling back, and to see him back was obviously a spark for us as well. And then Zach Belter, local guy, who's just been putting the work in, coming back from an injury in the summer as well, and just putting his head down and going to work. And so credit to those 3 guys, for stepping in after a long time. And but in terms of who we had in, we didn't change our defense because of personnel we had in. We need to change something. And like I said, at times I thought it worked really well for us, and other times we didn't fully commit to it, and that's what exposed us.
And thought talked a couple weeks ago about this getting to fourth quarters and it being you guys needing to play more for Matt. Did it feel like subconsciously with Matt not in the lineup, you guys played up a little bit more, just knowing that you don't have Matt Vince behind you, it's someone else?
Yeah, it wasn't really addressed, but I think naturally it's in the back of your mind. We wanted to get that win for Shanny, his first start. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that for him. But, again, at the end of the day, no matter who's in, whether it's Vino, who's the greatest of all time, or, it could be a rookie stepping in, whatever it may be, we just have to start elevating our play and playing a lot better, not only in the fourth quarter, but, for a full 60 minutes.
Thoughts on facing some adversity, being the defending champions, and just quick thoughts on Vancouver next week.
Yeah, it's, obviously last year was incredible, but as awesome as it was, it's starting to get old. People always talking about it and bringing it up. We're halfway through the season now, and it's, we're underdogs in our own building at this point. So, we can't constantly rely on that and go back on that. It's a new team. It's a new season. We're over halfway through the season. So, if people are still thinking about that, we got to get that out of our mind pretty quick here. But Vancouver, obviously, they're a good team. They got a really good offense. Defensively, they do some different things as well. And, we have to look at the tape on them. And their season might not be going the way they want it, kind of similar to ours right now. So I think it's 2 teams that are going to be really battling to turn the tides a little bit here and start to go on a run in the second half of the season.
And special teams too. I imagine you want to get that a little bit better for next week.
Definitely. I think you can always improve on that. We just took way too many penalties. And again, that's leaving Shanny out to dry. That's leaving our defense out to dry. Guys like Pre, Weiser, Wires, Spangs, Marty, they're playing a lot. And when we're playing man down, they're on the floor a ton, and then they're playing normal 5-on-5 just a lot. So we got to tighten that up. Offensively, I'm sure the guys had shots that they want back and some better looks. And I know they'll go look at the film and get to work on that for sure.
Thank you.
How can this defensive group just create more transition goals?
Yeah, I mean, if we can, well, I guess first off, you guys start scoring before the buzzer goes off. But if those two go, it could be a different ballgame. It's just something frustrating like that. I think we're getting chances. We just need to buckle down on those chances. And if we can win transition battles in games, I think we're going to set ourselves up really well. And, in years past, since I've been here, that's something that we've really relied on. And I don't necessarily think that's something we got away from. It's just when we get those chances, we got to be better.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Ian.
Yep.
Good luck next week.
All right, guys, that clip was courtesy of my YouTube channel, Chris Palme Live with CDP Sports Talk. I want to say thank you to my 279 subscribers. And if you'd like to, please subscribe and hit the follow notification on YouTube as well. I have some more exciting news for you guys. Season 7, episode 45 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph, returns tomorrow, Wednesday, March 6th at 11 o'clock a.m. with my special guest, Kevin Allen. He is a reporter, writer with the Detroit Hockey Now, covering the Detroit Red Wings. And Kevin covered
the National Hockey League for the U.S. today for 34 years. So I'm going to have Kevin Allen on, and we're going to talk some 23-24 Detroit Red Wings and whether this team can make the playoffs and be a possible cup contender, and maybe the addition of Patrick Kane, how much of an impact it has been on the Red Wings as well. And I'm excited to have Kevin Allen on tomorrow, Wednesday, March 6th at 11 a.m. with Kevin Allen, again, reporter, writer with Detroit Hockey Now, covering the Red Wings. So if you're a Detroit Red Wings fan, tune in to Live with CDP Sports Talk tomorrow at 11 a.m. as well. And again, I want to say thank you to today's guest, Mike Kakuk from AM 800 CKLW in Windsor, for coming on here today to talk to us about the Lions, the Red Wings, and the Tigers. And please check out AM 800 CKLW in Windsor. And Mike is a co-host of the Morning Drive Show, weekdays from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Lisa Williams. And they're also on CTV Windsor from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. or 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. as well. Before we go, guys, I'm going to do a few shout outs. I just want to say a shout out to Daniel Vibe Plumbing. You can reach Daniel at 519-822-2853, or you can email them danielvibe@yahoo.com. I had some plumbing work done in my house yesterday. So again, check out Daniel Vibe Plumbing. And again, you can reach Daniel again at 519-822-2853, or email Daniel Vibe, VIBE @yahoo.com. And he's at a Guelph. So I want to say thank you to Daniel for assisting me with some plumbing work in my house yesterday here in Guelph. Also, guys, you can check out Shoes Appliances, Shoe Appliance Center at 397 Woodlawn Road West in Guelph, and ask for Peter Lombardo. He's in sales, 519-824-4925, or you can email Peter at shoeappliance.com. Peter knows all the products there. If you're looking for a stove or a dishwasher or a washing machine or a fridge, any kind of appliances, Peter is really good at that. So please check out Shoe Appliance Store here in Guelph. Also, guys, I do some volunteer work at the Cambridge and District Humane Society. Please, if you're looking for a forever pet or a friend, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario, or you can give them a call at 519-623-7722, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. And I will be back there tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock to walk some of my furry friends there, including Clifford. And you can check out Clifford's profile again at cambridgehumanesociety.org as well. And they're also doing a raffle right now for the Cambridge District Humane Society. So please check that out as well. Also, guys, we're going to finish this up. Live with CDP Sports Talk is now on radio station CKRT Border City Radio in Windsor, Ontario, on Friday afternoons from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern, and Sundays rewinds at 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. You can check out their website at CKRT.BorderCityRadio.com. Classic rock music, talk shows, and I want to say thank you to the station manager, Donna, for having me on their show as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Pame. Is on weeknights from 8 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website to listen to my show live streamed is WQEEFM.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram under my name, Chris Pame. And I think today I forgot to hit the live notification on Instagram. So for those who are watching on Instagram or trying to, I apologize. I will make sure it's ready to go tomorrow morning. And there apparently were some issues with Facebook and Instagram this morning. I guess I wasn't the only one had trouble getting on. I guess there was a system issue with Facebook and Instagram. So that might have been an issue as well. So hopefully I will be back on Instagram tomorrow for my show with Kevin Allen. Speaking of websites, guys, I have my own website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. All my social media sites and all my previous radio shows are on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Live with CDP Sports Talk again is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership here in Guelph at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. And speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet, it is truck month at Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now. 2024 Silverado 1500 ZR2 is available for 0.99% financing for up to 60 months. More details at barrycullen.com. You can follow me on TikTok. I am a TikTok creator at Live with CDP. You can check out my player and coaches interviews and my media work there. So again, at Live with CDP on TikTok, and make sure you hit that follow notification. And I'm at 1,991 followers. And I want to say thank you to those people who are following me. And I'm trying to get up to 2,000 followers. So I just need about 9 more followers to get to that 2,000 mark. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or podcasting such as yours truly, check out StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans for $0 a month, or they have a professional plan, which I have, $49 a month US. And if you're a business and do a lot of webinars or live streaming for your business, check out StreamYard.com and contact the sales department for more details there as well. And also want to give a shout out today to Sam, an IT tech from StreamYard. I was having some issues with StreamYard this morning, and I contacted Sam, the IT guy from StreamYard.com, and he was able to assist me as well. So if you do have the odd issue with StreamYard.com, they do have very good technical support. And again, shout out to Sam from StreamYard for assisting me this morning. Live with CDP Sports Talk, the audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, and Tuned In. Finally, you can email or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpalme19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated as well. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Taylor. Taylor's podcast is called the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. So check out his podcast show. His name is Taylor Phillips, and he's a good guy. He does a great job on his podcast show. So again, check out the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, normally with Taylor Phillips and his co-host Ed Smith. I hope Ed feels better soon. And that's about it. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest today, Mike Kakuk from AM 800 CKLW in Windsor, for coming on here today. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow's show with Kevin Allen, reporter, writer with Detroit Hockey Now, covering the Detroit Red Wings. I hope everybody has a great afternoon, and we'll see you back here tomorrow, Wednesday, March 6th at 11 a.m. for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, and on radio stations now, WQEE 99.1 FM and CKRT Border City Radio in Windsor. Have a great afternoon, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk.